So you guys are like flirting with the mainstream. You're on major labels. You have successful singles, records, albums, and then you get dropped from the major labels. Hieroglyphics gets dropped from the major labels, and then you guys take it independent and decide to start Hieroglyphics Imperium.
Yes.
What was the decision and process to making that transition?
Well, first Casual and Souls got dropped, right? And then so the idea was Del was still signed. And so we had this idea, and I had made this. Cats were still doing songs, and I made this kind of cassette tape of what everyone was doing at the time. And I was like, we should do a whole Hiero Crew album, and basically have this as our own thing, and then show that we know how to show that what we're doing is the way, our vision is, and show, and this will be like proof of concept, right? We'll put out this album on our own label, and then ultimately we'll get Soul signed again and Casual signed again, and we're gonna springboard Del's major label promo. So when Del's doing promo, he's gonna talk about this indie record that we got, you know? So that was kind of our plan, you know? So then Del gets dropped, right? And then we were like, okay, let's put out our own thing. And then, you know, again, the plan was once we show this, we'll have our own thing, but then everyone can get signed again because we'll show that we're still got it going on. Well, what ended up happening was we had so much success and made so much money doing it indie that we kind of lost. We were like, why get signed? You know what I mean? Like we were touring more than we did before. We were making more money. We were in control of our careers, our destiny. We had hieroglyphics.com. We were early on the website stuff. And so we were selling merch online, selling t-shirts. And so we realized that this was kind of the way to go. And so we never kind of revisited the let's get everyone signed again.
I think people still haven't caught up to y'all in that sense. And I think it's still, I think now, especially that like the industry kind of crashed and a lot of the legacy artists like had to go independent, like through Empire or some other type of distribution. Mm-hmm. The idea of like having to do this shit on your own is still kind of foreign to a lot of people. Yeah. And even a lot of independent or underground groups still don't quite understand how to leverage like the shit you're talking about, like an email list and your own t-shirts and book your own tours. Yeah. That's still something that a lot of people don't really have a grasp on, but this is an interesting time period because I feel like around the same time that like you did the first Hiero album is like Living Legends is doing their thing. Mm-hmm. Dilated Peoples, like it's a lot of LA groups doing the Visionaries. Yeah. Probably like Swollen Members. Like this is a time where like this kind of genre, if you will, or like style of underground independent hip hop is kind of booming.
Yeah. The late 90s was great for that. Late 90s for sure. There was a lot of people that decided that, hey, let's just bypass the labels. You know, when we first started touring, when we got indie, there was no touring circuit. You know, there was just, you know, you're going to get on the Budweiser Superfest, or if you were like, or you could do like, you know, a decent sized shows, but there wasn't no underground thing. And so one of the first thing I did when we went indie is we put out a 12-inch, and let's play this. I'm not going to take away the fact that I had the benefit of going through the experiences with the major labels, and I learned a lot of the process through that. And so when we went indie, like I hit my guy who still worked at Jive and was like, "Yo, give me the radio DJ list, or you know where you send." So I just sent all the records to this list, and then I was calling them up, and I would be like, "Yo, play," you know, and they were like, "Oh, Dom," you know, like we were calling, and sometimes Casual will call, like they were like, "Damn, like y'all calling yourself," like that was a big deal. And they were like, "Well, what do you want to do? Like, when do you want me to add it and whatever?" Because, you know, they were thinking about charting, and I was just like, "Man, just play it," you know. And then I would call back and I go, "Who does the shows in your area?" And so the radio DJ knew. He was like, oh yeah, so and so does so. And so, or I can, or and it usually was like dude who threw the hip hop, with the DJs, but it wasn't like touring. But a lot of these promoters started from me calling and setting up tours with these just by saying, because we didn't have a booking agent, nothing. It was just like, who puts on the shows? And then I would negotiate with them directly, and we would do we just went around the country doing like 3 shows a week. Like it wasn't even like, but the rest of the time we were going to radio stations and we were going to the mall and the record stores and just trying to let people know. And so that process kind of helped us. And it was a trip because by the time that we got to New York, I got a call from a guy, Peter Schwartz, who worked for William Morris back when Dell was there and under Kara Lewis. He goes, oh, I've got my own agency. And I thought, you're just the guy I want to talk to, because I was booking him myself, but we were, I wanted a tour where we playing every night, not like one show here, one show there. Like that's how it was. And it ended up being helpful for us to be able to get out there, kiss babies and shake hands, but we needed to do more shows. So the booking agent happened to call me. Like, I happen to be in New York. And so then we got a booking agent, and then we really toured hard, and that kind of helped. That in addition with, shout out to Stinky, the guy who's had the hieroglyphic fan page first that Tajay discovered. We connected with him and made it official. And we were so early in the website game. Like I think we had a site before like IBM and a lot of, not to mention most groups, but we were so early on that part of the internet that was a big part of us, continuing to get the word out from the people that knew us from the majors and were like, what happened to them? And then we had our site just started to really help build up this new record that we were about to come out with,
That's what I'm saying. I think a lot of people still have not caught up to that, because like that type of grassroots, like calling yourself or like interacting with the fans or, booking the tour on a, eventual type of grind, looking back, like let's say 20 or so years, 25 years since that started, like y'all have like that cult fan base.
Yeah.
That's why like you see people with Hiero tattoos.
Yeah.
That's why like even with some of the stuff I do, people be like, fuck that shit. Hiero. You know what I mean? You talking about the pay? Hiero. Hiero. It's like not everybody has that fan base, but that kind of fan base I feel like is like the key to, longevity.
I think it's that, definitely. I think it's how your fans feel about you, but I think a lot of it is rooted in we have a certain aesthetic of the music that we do, and we don't really deviate from that much, and I think that people kind of know what they expect from Hiero, and we tend to continue to give it to them to where like it isn't just like, now we're going to take our shot because this is the trend. When you're around for 30 plus years, there's a lot of trends that come and go. And I think that we always had a sort of we kept to the Hiero aesthetic, and then fans of ours knew that they weren't going to get let down for the most part on what we gave them, and I think that was always, important, like the Apple logo on an iMac. Like you kind of know what that product is going to be like. And that's kind of what the Hiero logo is. It's just like, this is kind of a stamp of what, if you got that on the logo, if that's on there, you kind of have an idea of what type of hip hop is going to be. And so I think that those two things, I think, I think they've done well for us. And I just also think that there's a lot of people that are just passionate about us who are frustrated that we ain't mainstream.
Yeah.
And they feel like we deserve to get the flowers that
That's
lot of these.
It's a good thing to have going for you, have a little underdog thing going for you. People like an underdog.
Yeah, and it's just like, I look at these, like when people do the top 10 rapper list or top 10 Bay list, and I always look, because I know there's going to be a bunch of people in that comment thread talking about, what? what? No Hiero, no Dell, you know, and so
yeah. So I'm saying, even with my my History of the Bay Day event, people are like, how come Hiero's not performing? I'm like, bro, Souls of Mischief just performed last year. Like, it's not a diss. Like,
yeah. I mean, that's we've been fortunate to have that type of loyal fan base that I think was really nurtured through us being accessible on the internet early. Like, I think that was a big part of it, is that we were very fan friendly, and we were in the chat rooms when, you know, with the fans, and we were definitely, and we always made it a point to kind of come out after the shows and talk to fans and be by the merch booth, and even now Tajay be selling the merch, you know what I mean? So we're always kind of in the mix and not this untouchable group, you know, and you know, everything's relative. Like, we're an underdog in some respect, but some people who would view us as, oh, it was Hiero, everyone knows them, you know what I mean? And so the music industry is all relative. I always feel like, you know, the people always be like, oh, y'all should be as big as, and I'm like, yeah, but we've done what we've done, you know, so, and I'm happy with that.
Recognize where you got the game. We got our own style, got our own slang. Northern California is a West Coast thing. This is the history of the Bay. Recognize where you got the game. We got our own style, got our own slang. Northern California is a West Coast thing. This is the history of the Bay.